Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ray, and we are here to jump into episode 9 of my stand-in. So, we've caught up. I had to take a week break due to my mic being messed up. But we're back. We're here. We're caught up. I've watched episode 8 a couple days ago. And we're now on episode 9. Okay. Last episode, we kind of got the final confirmation for, at least for Ming, that Joe, this new Joe, is actually old Joe in new Joe's body. And he confirmed this information, let's say, through coitus. And made Joe sneeze, which is like a crazy way to have a secret be revealed. Like, ridiculous. So, but we left off the episode with Ming getting a call that the people, his people, whatever, the detective, I don't know who, found Joe's body, original Joe's body. Now, the question going into this episode is it his corpse? It like decaying corpse? Or is it new Joe in old Joe's body having reversed? And if it is the second one, is he walking around? Or is he, in a coma? Like the other Joes were. I guess it was his body and some other guy's spirit that was in a coma. Anyway, hard to explain. Let's just get into the next episode. Y'all, I've been anticipating this so much. Like, this is my favorite show that I'm watching right now. For real. Like, the drama. Like, the mystery. The way these characters are so extreme. It's giving me kind of everything. the supernatural fantasy elements, all of it. It's great. Yeah, he's got to see it. But if it's not recognizable, like if it's not a recognizable corpse, then I don't believe it. I think this is some bullshit that either Tong or Mike cooked up. See, if I can't see old Joe's face under that sheet, this is some bullshit. Which, after 2 years, probably wouldn't be able to, right? Like, it would be super decayed, so fair enough. But I don't know how you would prove it. Like, you would need DNA from his original body, and then you would need to have it tested by people you trust that you don't think will, switch up the results.
ได้ไงพี่เรื่องสำคัญแบบเนี้ยพวกเราก็จะเข้าไปดูด้วยใช่ป่ะพี่วุฒิ
He would be, if he, let's say it's been 2 years, if he was in the woods, his body, you know what? I don't even know what I was talking about, because his body, not only would the decay be set in, but it would be like ravaged. It would be terrible. Like bugs all over his skin, like eating animals. Like, it would be terrible, actually. His body would not look okay.
นี่พวกเราเข้าไปก็วุ่นวายเขาเปล่าๆด้วยกำลังของทางนั้นน่ะนี่น่าจะเป็นวิธีที่เร็วที่สุดแล้วล่ะ
พี่วุฒิครับผมมีเรื่องอยากถามพี่มานานแล้วครับ
Yeah, what?
ทำไมพี่ถึงให้บ้านผมกับมิงครับ
Oh, he gave him the house. I thought he just bought it from the landlord.
คือตั้งแต่เกิดเรื่องกับมึงเนี่ยกูเขาพยายามจะโทรหาญาติพี่น้องของมึงที่เหลืออยู่เนี่ยนะ
He ain't got none.
แต่ว่าพอพวกเขารู้เรื่องเนี่ย
he
ทุก
do.
คนนั่งแบบจะแย่งสมบัติมึงอ่ะ
He did have relatives. They're just pieces of shit.
นั่นจะเอาบ้านคนนี้จะเอารถ
Every
แล้ว
single
ผม
one
เห็
of
นเขา
them
รู้
is a
เขา
piece of shit.
เขาก็เลยมาเอาของของมึงไปดูแล
ผม
Wow.
จะไม่ชอบอะแต่ก็ดีกว่าปล่อยให้ของของพี่ต้องหายไปนะ
แต่พี่ก็ยังไม่เข้าใจอยู่ดีอะ
But
ว่าทำไม
why?
หมิงก็ต้องเก็บของของพี่ไว้ด้วยอะ
Honey, he's in love with you still.
ถ้าถามกูเนี่ย
As much as he can be,
กูคิดว่า
in his own way.
ที่มันทำทั้งหมดอะเพราะมันแค่รู้สึกผิด
คุณหมิง
Did we get the
Kinda like
lab
someone
results
makeup.
in a day? Oh, I thought he was about to tell him the results. I was like, don't lab results usually take a couple of weeks?
ผลตรวจ DNA ออกแล้วนะครับ
I guess not. Not in drama world.
คุณหมิงจะให้ผมบอก หรือว่าคุณหมิงจะเอาไปดูเองครับ
He's got to see it, right?
ถ้าอย่างนั้นเดี๋ยวผมอ่านให้ฟังนะครับ
Yeah, he's got to read it for himself. But again, I don't trust these results because this literally could have been cooked up by your shitty ex crush, or your brother, or the secretary, or all three combined. Or this father that we've never seen. All three of them bunking up in the same room. The way this dude is not moving like a K-pop idol, though, okay. But then again, he wouldn't want to draw attention to himself, so I get it. Is he gonna sneak out and try and see his body himself? They played his his spy music. He's gonna see Ming there, and Ming's gonna flip out because he's deep in grief and he's thinking, no, Joe's lying dead on this slab. You're an imposter, a stand-in. I can already see it. It's either that or he's gonna get even clingier.
ห้ามไม่ให้ใครเข้าไป
Just knock this man out and go in.
ไม่ได้ครับเด็ก
I was about to say.
ถอยไปครับ
Again, knock this man out and go inside. Are we looking at his corpse, or are we just gonna look at the report? I'm sure it's gonna say it matches. Sorry, sir. And I know that he was kind of weirdly hoping that at some point he could return to his body. Because the other option is that this isn't a trick. This is actually him.
โจคนเก่า ก็ได้ตายจากโลกนี้ไปแล้วจริง
Like the mirror shot with the other actor. And it also probably means that the new Joe spirit is gone too. Because there's also that idea that, maybe he's out there too, so he's not dead, and his mother can find him again and be reunited with him, but nope.
เดี๋ยวผมซื้อคืนมาให้พี่เอง
เฮ้ย ไม่เป็นไร
ผมซื้อเก็บไว้ให้เฉยๆ พี่มีเมื่อไหร่ก็ค่อยคืน
It's not gonna happen, sir. You got new money, and Ming has old
พี่ยัง
money.
ให้มันช่วยเลย ครั้งนี้ให้ผมช่วยบ้างดิ
This is not gonna happen.
ขอบใจนะ
He probably already signing off the contract
แต่ว่า
with the relatives
ก่อนที่
before
จะ
they
ไปถึง
even
ตรงนั้น
issue
เนี่ย
the death certificate.
คือ
And they're gonna sign right after the other.
หมิงเขาจะจัดงานศพให้มึงที่วัดแถวๆเนี่ย
Are we gonna meet
Hey.
Joe's shitty
ทำไมไม่ไป
family?
จัดดีๆในกรุงเทพอะ
Okay, yeah, they're not in Bangkok. Okay.
ก็พวกความรวดเร็วไง ให้ทุกอย่างมันเร็วที่สุด
Yeah, just cry it out, baby. This is such a fucked up situation. Like,
ผมไปด้วยพี่
อย่าเลยโจ
that's
Sure,
crazy.
cool.
Attending your own funeral?
มันไม่ควรมีใครต้องไปงานศพของตัวเองนะ
I mean, everybody's
Look,
going to
look.
their own funeral if
เดี๋ย
you
วกู
think
จะสั่ง
about
จั
it.
ดการ
I'm just saying, unless you buried out in the woods, you're going to your own funeral. One way or the other.
โชคดีให้เธอได้ไปพบใคร ที่จะไม่ทำให้ใจ
Finally remembering all the shit you did to him?
มันเป็นเพราะฉันเองในวันนั้นทำให้เสียงเพลงเราหมดความหมาย
Yeah, last time we saw him. Never saw him again. That was his last moment with him. His last moment with Joe was beating him, kidnapping him, chaining him up, making him scared, making him cry, and him running off hating him. That was his last moment.
พี่โจ พี่โจอยู่ไหนอะ
หมิงปล่อยพี่ไปเถอะนะ
ไม่ ผมอยากอยู่กับพี่โจ เรามาเริ่ม
That's
ต้น
his
กันใหม่นะ
last image of him.
หมิงต้องบอกพี่ตอนนี้มันก็สายไปแล้วหมิง
ผมสัญญานะว่าผมจะไม่ให้พี่เป็นตัวแทนใครอีกแล้ว
I will say this, probably he's not been able to fully grieve because he's kind of just been living in this, he's still out there vibe, So he did show up. Got it.
พี่โจ
I mean, he's probably also like feels like he has to mourn his old life, he has to mourn his old body, his identity, and then also, he's mourning the life of New Joe, of this guy whose life he's technically, at least in his mind, stealing. Even though it's not his fault, this is a supernatural phenomenon. Like, it's not his fault, but he's probably thinking a lot of different things here. But anyway, what I was saying earlier is that Ming probably wasn't able to fully grieve properly because he, kept clinging to the idea that Joe was out there. So finding his body kind of just forcing him to confront the idea of that he lost Joe. He lost the Joe he fell in love with originally because of his own foolishness. Because of his own actions.
ฉันจึงจะพร้อมเข้าใจความรัก
I'm glad we're not making a scene at this funeral. And we're allowing everyone to just, experience
พี่อาจจะคิดว่าผม
the
บ้าก็ได้นะ
emotion of grief,
แต่ลึกๆแล้วผมแม่งก็ยังมีความหวังอยู่นะ
Yeah,
ว่า
see, I
ร่าง
was
กายของ
thinking
ผมแม่ง
that.
ยังอยู่ดี
He has, yeah.
แต่คงนอนเป็นผักอยู่ที่ไหนสักที่หนึ่งอะ
And maybe one day he'll
แล้ววันหนึ่ง
return.
เนี่ยผมจะสลับร่างกลับไปเป็นโจคนเดิม
Yeah, now he knows that's gone. Never gonna happen. We can't go back.
วันนี้หมิงเหนื่อยเหรอ
ไปนั่งรีแลกซ์แล้วกัน
Not them both being compared to a dog.
หิวแล้วอะหิวแล้วอะ
เอาสิ
ไป
ไป
พี่เลือก
They'll be dogs together.
โอ้ยมาแล้ว
ทำไม
Remember when you punched him in the face that one time? I know he's running the gamut of emotions. I know. There's a lot going on in him. Now, does he truly no longer believe that new Joe is old Joe, or is he going to circle back around on that? They've really let this breathe. I like it though.
กลัวหัวใจตัวเองจะรักไม่ได้
Like they're giving it the correct amount of gravitas and weight for both of these characters. There it is.
มาร้องไห้ทำไมตอนเนี้ย
Not him being pissed. You know what? Valid. Yell at him. Beat him up. I don't care. I don't care. It's about time this man got jumped. Like, I'm sorry. He's such an asshole in the beginning, in the first half of this series. Like, low-key, he deserved to get beat up.
คุณร้องไห้ทำไมตอนนี้
Absolutely.
คุณร้องไห้ทำไมตอนเนี้ยคุณร้องไห้ทำไมตอนนี้คุณร้องไห้ทำไมตอนนี้
โจ๊กไม่เอาโจ๊ก
คุณร้องไห้ทำไมตอนนี้
เธอเก็บฉันไว้เพื่ออะไรเธอมีฉันไว้แทนที่
What a mess.
บอกให้ฉันได้ไหม
Yeah, they're really letting this breathe appropriately.
โอ้กูบอกมึงแล้วใช่ไหมว่าไม่ต้องมา
I mean, he needed it for
ผม
closure.
สาบานเลยนะพี่ ว่าผมจะไม่มีทางอภัยให้กับเขาเด็ดขาด
Okay. Me think you doth protest too much.
มึง
What's
จะ
up?
เอาอะไรอีก ผมจะบอกว่า เรื่องของพี่โจทุกอย่างต่อจากเนี้ย ผมจะจัดการเอง
หมายความว่าไง
But, I mean,
ทุกอย่าง ทั้งอัฐิ
yeah, it's all his.
Ang mga doktor
We all know this. Like, why in the world did this dude, why in the world did Soul think that he was going to be able to do that? Listen, I know you're rich because you're a K-pop star, but you're not rich. You're new money rich. He's old money rich, okay? He's old money rich. It just wasn't going to happen. No matter what kind of money you try to offer, he can double it. He can triple it. And it doesn't matter to him. Like, truly, it does not matter to him. What? Are you joking? And whatever he can't buy, he'll beat somebody up for it. Like, with some fucking henchman or something. Like, what are we talking about here? You know? He probably, like I said, he probably already paid off the family for the items anyway, for all of Joe's belongings anyway. They're all his.
แต่พี่โจเขาก็มีญาติพี่น้องของเขานะเว้ย
ผมให้เลขาจิมไปเคลียร์หมดแล้ว ตอนนี้สมบัติทุกอย่างของ
I
พี่โจ
told you.
เป็นของผมตามกฎหมาย
I told you. Come on.
แล้วคุณจะจัดการไงกับของเขา
ผมจะเอาอัฐิไปโปรยที่ทะเล ส่วนข้าวของทั้งหมดอะ ผมจะไปเผาทิ้ง
Now, why are you being an asshole
จะไม่
right
ต้องมีอะไร
now?
ติดค้างกันอีก
ไม่ได้หมิง ข้าวของพวกนั้นน่ะ มันคือความทรงจำของไอ้โจนะเว้ย
ทำไมจะไม่ได้ล่ะครับ ของทั้งหมดเป็นของผม
He's such an asshole. You know what? I respect the show for sticking to its guns and making him an asshole all the way through this. Like, no sudden personality switch ups for my stand-in. He's just gonna be a douchebag the whole way through. He's just gonna be kind of a douchebag that Joe's in love with.
ผมจะทำอะไรก็เรื่องของผม นี่มัน
เฮ้ยซอนใจเย็น
Are we gonna have another fight? All right, here we go.
คุณ คุณมีสิทธิ์อะไรมาทำกับเขาแบบนั้น
เพราะเขาเป็นของผม แค่คนเดียว
He said everything he is, everything he has, everything he was is mine. Jesus. He's so... I mean, obviously, I'll talk about it a little bit after. I'll talk about it in a second. Alright, well, we're back here.
โจ ผมนึกแล้วว่าพี่ต้องมา
We here to rob this place, but I'm pretty sure it's probably empty.
ซอนอย่ามาห้ามพี่เลย ข้างบนบ้านมันมีแต่ความทรงจำของพี่อะ
I'm pretty sure
ให้พี่
it
ได้
is
เหลืออะไรเก็บ
empty.
ไว้บ้างเถอะ
ผมไม่ได้มาห้ามพี่ ผมมาช่วยพี่ต่างหาก วันเนี้ยผมจะไม่ยอมให้พี่ต้องเสี่ยงคนเดียวอีกแล้ว
So is he gonna hold his stuff hostage until Joe admits that he's old Joe? Is that what we're doing? He's either cleared it out or he's changed the lock or something. Or removed the key? No, it's still there.
กุญแจอยู่ที่เดิมอะ
No, he's gonna go in there, it's
Arizona.
gonna be fucking empty.
งั้นเดี๋ยวผมไปดูต้นทางให้นะพี่
Or he's in there waiting for him. It's like, I knew it was you, Joe.
พี่โจ
ว่าไง
Or did he like, is he taking the mugs? Sir, stop being a simp. I cannot. Obviously.
พี่โจ
See, he's him being
กลับ
in
มาแล้ว
here.
อะครับ
Oop. What, did he not notice the lights coming on? What do we... Terrible fucking lookout, by the way. Terrible lookout.
ไม่ใช่นะ
คนที่รู้ว่ารูปมันเก็บอยู่ที่ไหน 3 ปีที่ผ่านมา
Okay, it's been
ผมคิด
3
ถึงพี่ทุกวัน
years.
เลยนะ
มันไม่จริงหรอกหมิง เพราะถ้านายคิดถึงพี่จริงอะตอนเอากันนายคงไม่คิดถึงไอ้ตรงหรอก ตอนที่นายขังพี่อะตอนที่นายทำพี่ตายอะไม่ใช่เพราะนายรักไอ้ตรงเหรอ
ไม่ใช่
I mean, not really. Yeah, it's by the time that happened. To be fair to Ming, a weird thing for me to say, but to be fair to Ming, by the time we got to the end there, it really was not about Tong actually. Tong called him, and he's very, you know, it's weird, right? Like, because there's also family ties. There's also his feelings of obligation to his sister. That's kind of part of the reason that he is so, you know, friendly with Tong, I think, on a certain level. Like he said, that you're my brother-in-law. That's why I, you know, haven't blamed you. But what I was saying is that by the time we got to Ming hitting him upside the head and chaining him up, it wasn't about Tong anymore. It was 100% about his possessiveness and obsessiveness over Joe himself. But, you know, he is unable to express emotions in a normal way without, like, you know, obsessive control. So, you know, when he got the idea that Joe was going to be in a movie with that son of a bitch soul, you know, he had to, you know, take matters into his own hands. So, you know, it really wasn't about Tong by that point. He was very much had moved his focus onto Joe. So,
คนที่ผมรักอะ
in
คือพี่
as
นะ
much as he can, in the way that he
Joe.
can. Joe, why are we playing this game? You already know you're gonna fold. Like, what are we talking about here? Are they gonna fuck with Soul
Yeah, okay,ผมด้วยนะ
outside? That
เรา
would
มาเริ่
be
มต้นกันใหม่
so fucked up.
ผมสัญญานะ
ว่าผมจะไม่ทำให้พี่เสียใจอีกแล้ว
Don't make promises you can't keep, sir.
หากฉันได้ขอสิ่งใด
Soul's gonna walk in and see them making out or some shit like that.
หมิง
ชีวิตอีกไกลฉันอยู่คนเดียว
จะไม่ยอมให้มึงทำลายพี่เขาอีกแล้ว
เจ้าสายน้
หมิง
ำที่เย็นช่ำที่ทุกวัน
This is so messy. And me, take the picture. Well, I mean, I guess he knows he's not gonna burn it, so
ที่มัน
he can always come back and get it later.
พี่สัญญากับผมได้ไหมว่าพี่จะไม่กลับไปหามันอีก
Don't make promises you can't keep, Joe.
พี่สัญญา ทุกอย่างมันจะต้องไม่กลับไปเป็นเหมือนเดิมอีก
I mean, it's not, because you're a different person now. Like, you've grown, so it's already good. It's already different. But you are definitely going to go back to him. Now, what's going to be the catalyst that makes Joe cave? Is it going to be, you know, a sexy see-through lacy number? Like he always wears?
โจ โจ
ผมมารับพี่ไปงานด้วยกันอะ
Okay. Yeah, I was supposed to say, ain't nobody come around after the last time? Yeah, on paper, Soul is like, I think, the perfect boyfriend, right?
นี่เขาดูหน่อย
Not him saying that.
โอเคนะ
Oh, not walking in holding hands. He's like, I'm a candidate for your love. We not no regular second male lead.
ตัวจริงเหรอเนาะอย่างนี้พวกเราก็จะได้มีโอกาสเห็นทั้งคู่ร่วมงานกันอีกใช่ไหมคะ
เรื่องนั้นก็
Not him showing up. That's dude is so... And the way everybody just flipped. This is this man's press conference. This is Soul's press conference. And Ming walked in and immediately the whole room stopped. This is terrible. I feel so bad for this boy.
เอาของมาเซอร์ไพรส์น้องซอนด้วยเหรอคะเนี่ย ว้าว
No, it ain't about him. It's about my man, my boyfriend. They did do a photo shoot together, so.
อ๋อแสดงว่า MV อันนี้จะต้องมีภาคต่อแน่
Oh, not a sequel. Not a sequel music video, which all three of them are in a love triangle. Hilarious. Honestly, do it. I mean, if he's going to be hovering, you might as well make money off his ass. Do it. Do it. and sing the OST on it. Sing the song on it. Hilarious.
และน้องหมิงก็จะเล่นเป็นมือที่ 3 ด้วยในเพลงต่อไปอ่า เปิดมาขนาดนี้ อยากดูไหมคะทุกคน
Not them taking this as an announcement. This is a fucking mess.
รอดูผลงานต่อไปกันได้
Why is he so... He's always about, like, making a public spectacle.
เหมาะสมเนาะเหมาะสม
But it's so him. It's so him. Because the whole
Dude.
world is his, right?
ทำไมงานผมมีแขกไม่รับเชิญเข้ามาได้
นักข่าวอยู่กันเยอะนะ
This
พี่คงไม่อยาก
dancing
โด
in
น
the
ไปเมาส์หรอก
background.
ว่า เป็นนักแสดงหน้าใหม่ที่ไม่มีมารยาท
Yeah. We all know how bad press goes the last time you got blacklisted.
นายนี้ก็ยังชอบบังคับคนอื่นเหมือนเดิมเลยนะ
Of course.
แต่ผมว่าพี่ดื้อขึ้นเยอะเลยนะ
ก็เพราะพี่มีบท
He
เรียน
died and came back to life. Yeah, he's changed, sir. Like, there's a lot that's different. Pour me a
เติม
drink.
ให้หน่อยสิ
Mm-hmm.
เอาแบบที่มอมเล่าผมแล้วแอบเข้าไปในบ้านอะพี่คิดว่ามันจะทำให้พี่ดังไปได้ตลอดเหรอ
ทำไมอะพี่ไปเล่นในมีกับซอนแค่เพลงเดียว ยอดไอจีพี่ก็เพิ่มขึ้นไม่รู้จะกี่เท่าแล้ว
I mean, he
Ikaw
could
รู้นะ
ruin that very easily.
อยู่ค่ายเดียวกันนะทำไมเขาต้องดันมันก่อนปะ
Uh-oh.
เฮ้ยเฮ้ยเฮ้ยเฮ้ยเฮีย
ซอนไม่เอาปล่อยซอน
Messy.
ทุกคนไม่ต้อง
Messy.
ตกใจนะครับ อันนี้เป็นแค่การจำลองฉากสำคัญใน MV เพลงใหม่ เอาไหมพวกเราไปดูเป็นแค่น้ำจิ้มเลยนะครับ ยังไงก็สนุกกันต่อนะครับ เชิญครับ
Yeah, I'm gonna just say this right now. If they get into a beef, Soul is the only one who's losing. Like I said, Ming is from old money. You're rich, he's rich. Okay? He's rich. Like, it's very clear that it is different. It's just a different level. Like, you are the only one who's gonna lose. Sir.
ซอน
Now, if you don't give a fuck about literally losing everything, and I mean everything, I mean, like, the next thing that'll happen is that you gonna get a call from your K-pop agency saying you're being dropped from the group. Like, that's the kind of money he got, right? So, I'm just saying, unless you don't care about that and you don't mind just being straight up, like, on the streets, but you still got Joe, then, go for it. But...
โจ
I'm just saying, this is you know what you're
ทุก
walking
คนไม่
into,
ต้องตกใจนะครับ
sir.
อันนี้เป็นแค่การจำลองฉากสำคัญใน MV เพลงใหม่ วันนี้เนี่ยโอกาสมาจอดรอแกอยู่ตรงหน้าแล้ว แต่แกไปคว้ามันไว้เห็นนี่โคตรโง่เลย
That's Ming's car. I guarantee you. He's gonna roll down the window. There's gonna be Ming inside.
มิงก็อยากไปส่งแกนะ
The moment you get in that car, you know that's it. You.
อย่าทำให้เฮียผิดหวังนะ
This is so nasty, by the way. Like, this dude knows what's about to happen in this fucking car. He knows what's about to happen, and he's low-key selling this dude. Like, nasty. He got in. We getting in the car.
พี่โจเขาอุตส่าห์ส่งพี่กลับมาหาผมอีกครั้งอะให้ผมได้มีโอกาสถ่ายโทษพี่
Not they sent you to me once again. Like it's something that just happened. I don't know what happened, but they sent you to me. Like, sir? Are we? I need Ming to get beat up. Seriously. Truly. Let's keep going.
พี่เหอะ
ส่งพี่กลับมาหาหมิงเหรอ
Right?
มีคิดว่านั่นมันเป็นโอกาสของหมิงเหรอ มีเข้าใจอะไรผิดปะมันเป็นโอกาสของพี่ ที่ส่งพี่กลับมาแก้ไขสิ่งที่พี่ทำผิดพลาด และความผิดพลาดของพี่อะมันก็คือหมิงนั่นแหละ รู้ตัวปะปล่อย
โจ
บอกให้จอดรถไง
แล้ว
ปล่อย
Are we jumping
Wait,
out the
Dr.
car? Stand on business.
ได้เดี๋ยวพี่ไปเอง
Stand on business.
โจโห
ปล่อย
โจ
Don't get hit though.
มันมีคำถามหนึ่งนะที่คาใจพี่มาตลอด ถ้าเป็นในตรงเนี่ยหมิงก็คงไม่ใช้ทหารหลังเพราะอยากเห็นแล้วหล่อของมันใช่ปะ
โจ
Are you gonna listen to him? Are you gonna respect him?
จงเดินออกมาถ้ามันต้องเสียใจ
Just let him go.
อย่าเสียเวลาอย่าไปรักเขาเลยคนที่คอยทำร้ายอย่าไปคิดถึงเลยคนที่ทำแบบนี้เธอควร
Don't get hit by a car, please. And this shot of his back, hilarious. They're obsessed with the back. Oh, is he gonna? He
พี่ไป
can't.
ไหนไม่ได้
He literally can't. Like, it's impossible for
พี่ยัง
him.
เหลือสัญญากับผมอีกครึ่งปี
Oh, so it's been 6 months. Okay.
ผมรู้ว่าตอนนี้พี่เกลียดผม แต่ผมจะใช้เวลาที่เหลือเอาให้พี่กลับมารักผมมาอีกครั้ง
It's his only chance, so I understand. Not the green light. Symbolism! All right. That was a great episode. Like, that was so good. Wasn't it so good? That was so good, y'all. Oh my god. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Because all right, let me start with what I was going to say, and I said I would wait until later to talk about it. And it's about Ming. And like his okay. So obviously we have this storyline with Ming struggling to come to terms with the idea of Joe dying, right? This is before he had confirmation that new Joe is actually old Joe, right? And so he kind of was in this kind of arrested state where he couldn't quite grieve him, couldn't quite accept that Joe was gone, and so was clinging to this idea that he's both alive and dead and is out there, and I'll be able to find him somehow. And so, you know, being confronted with his body kind of finally forced him to actually accept Joe's loss. It's not as devastating a blow, of course, because he at that point has proven that old Joe is now in new Joe's body. But there's still the feelings that are there. And so I think the funeral was very much a catharsis for him as well as for Joe. And it was also a moment, another kind of turning point, or another, you know, point. It's, you know, we had the revelation for him that the back he's always been in love with has been Joe's, and that was kind of like his first turning point. And then we had you know, realization that this man in front of me is actually old Joe in new Joe's body, and that was kind of his second turning point. And then now we have this third one, which is finding the old Joe's body and having his funeral, finally being able to put him to rest. And I think I would consider that kind of a third turning point in this kind of saga of Ming being not only forced to confront his own grief, but also being forced to confront his own actions prior to when Joe died. So, like, we have that montage of him, you know, remembering all of their good times and then suddenly remembering all of the bad times, the last time that he ever saw him, and then, you know, the rejection. And so it's kind of like this moment for him to finally, like, reconcile that actually everything is kind of my fault. And like Soul said, it is guilt. There's no denying that. A lot of this is fueled by guilt and grief, but there is love there, and I think that's what Wood was trying to say earlier in the episode to Soul, is like, people are complicated, things aren't simple, and so emotions are complicated. You can feel multiple emotions at the same time, simultaneously. It is, in fact, you know, kind of human nature to be, you know, complicated and complex, contradictory even, hypocritical even. It's part of human nature, you know? So I you know, I'm not going to pretend like Ming doesn't love Joe in as much as he can, in the way that he can, you know? Now, if we're taking a step back, then objectively, a lot of his actions do not display love, because it's not. Like, sorry, it's just not. You know, objectively, no. And it's certainly not healthy love. But for as much as Ming is concerned, and as far as he, in his limited emotional, like, you know, maturity, it's love for him. And so, and that's valid. It's a valid emotion for him. And he's certainly feeling that. And he's certainly trying as much as he can, but, you know, ultimately he is who he is. This is what I was kind of talking about earlier. I really kind of respect the show for kind of keeping him an asshole. You know, I'd spoken earlier in the series when I was reacting to this about how, you know, Ming was kind of close to a certain turning point where it was kind of getting to a point where it was no longer, I don't want to say I was disengaging because it wasn't there, but because this show is really good, so I'm always engaged when I watch the episodes. But he was getting to a point where I felt like he may not be able to return, you know. Theory of Love is like my favorite show to talk about when I talk about that point of no return, because that's a show that crossed it for me. There was a point where what the hell was the guy's name? I don't fucking know. Kai? Yeah, Kai. There was a point where Kai crossed over a threshold for me, and I completely disengaged from his character. This show didn't do that. They knew exactly where the line was, where they could push it, and then they pulled back from it, which has been far more entertaining in a way that I kind of wish Theory of Love had been. Weirdly, Theory of Love is like one of my favorite gun performances, but I kind of hate that show on like a visceral level for not showing, not having the balls to acknowledge that sometimes love is not enough, you know? And I kind of wish that they had pursued that kind of a storyline with Theory of Love, but, you know, it was what it was. But anyway, it's my favorite show to bring up because I think that the show didn't realize exactly at what point there would be a no return for a lot of people. And I know that other people feel the same way. They felt like Kai, I really do think his name was Kai. Off's character, you know. A lot of people felt like his character was completely irredeemable. And certainly there are people that feel the same way about Ming in my stand-in. But for me, he hasn't quite gotten there yet. And I feel like it's also partially because my stand-in is very, it's got a very strong identity. You know, I've talked about this before. I'm sure you have not seen this because I've actually talked about it on shows that I have not yet edited. But I was talking about this weirdly with Osan's Love. Osan's Love and that franchise is actually one of the best shows when it comes to having an identity. You know, and I think my stand-in has that as well. It knows what it wants to be. It knows the tone, it knows the mood, it knows exactly how far to push it. It knows what direction to use. It knows what musical cues to use. We're not getting, like, there are humorous moments, but we're not getting, like, you know, slapstick comedy, you know, sound effects or anything. They're letting the comedy speak for itself, you know, like it's, you know, the dramatic moments are given time to breathe. Even in this very episode, that whole opening section where we just spent like a good 20 minutes just experiencing grief with these, you know, 5 people, right? Or 4 people, I guess, technically. Sorry, I was kind of counting Old Joe in there, but, you know, these 4 people. And so we kind of like, it was just like this long set piece that was at a funeral. Like the whole, and they let that happen. Like they let the show breathe because emotionally it was needed. And so we didn't need to rush through that funeral, you know? Like we didn't need to hurry up and get to the part where they're kissing. You know, like we don't need to rush through this storyline. We're letting the emotions stand for themselves. We're letting the actors stand for themselves, and we're letting the narrative stand for itself. And I really enjoy that about this. It's why I'm like, it's genuinely why I feel like this is probably, it might end up being my favorite show of 2024. Like, truly. It's just deftly handled. The directing, the writing, the pacing. The pacing has been immaculate. Listen, of this entire series, right? We had the first episode. Joe died in the beginning, and we spent time with new Joe in his new body, discovering what the hell happened. And then we flash back. We only flash back for like what, 3 episodes to episode 4, and then we were back in the present. And then the last 4 episodes, we've been back with new Joe, his life going forward. And so we've been getting to know him here. You know, like, I feel like the pacing has been so excellent. And then 5 and 6 was him getting reacquainted with Ming, and Ming getting reacquainted with him. And then we ended up with them in this, you know, they've moved forward into this, you know, contractual relationship. And then we had 2 episodes of that. And then at the end of episode 8, Ming realized, actually prior to that, episode 7, I think, he realized who Joe, that his love for Tong was actually always for Joe, you know? So that moved him forward emotionally. And then we had episode 8, we had him figure out, as well as Woot and Soul figure out or learn, whatever, however you want to say it, that new Joe is actually old Joe in new Joe's body. So like I feel like the pacing of this series has been so steady and so strong, and it feels deft. Doesn't it feel expert? You know, like, doesn't it feel like it's flowing? I just really am having a great time with this series, like, truly. And I did learn some things since the last episode. First of all, I do know that the director for this, she was one of the directors for Ken Porsche. Ken Porsche is another show that had a really strong identity and knew what it was. For the most part, I didn't love all of the comedy stuff in that one. Actually, I think my stand-in is an improvement on Ken Porsche for getting rid of the like slapstick comedy stuff. Which I think didn't land right tonally for Ken Porsche. We could have done without it. I'm not saying characters couldn't be funny. I'm just saying that it was a little too broad for that show. Yeah, it was just too broad, at least in my opinion. But like, so I do know that that's the same director, and she's doing a great job here. I actually read an interview that she was doing, a translation of an interview, I mean. Where she was just kind of talking about her process and, you know, her decision to take on this project, even though she had taken a break. She was going to go on a break because she'd been working like nonstop on a bunch of different stuff. And so, but she, you know, somebody called her in and was like, hey, we got this show, we want to do it. And she was like, all right, well, let me see, you know, what you got. And she read the script and, you know, talked with, I think the original, the script writers, and then talked with the original like author, the Chinese writer who wrote the original story, and just kind of, you know, was inspired and had some ideas about how they wanted the story to go. And I think that they have done an incredible job with it, actually. I haven't read the original novel, and I'm sure things are different. And, you know, maybe one day I'll read it, maybe I never will, who knows. But when I'm thinking about the show as its own entity, I just think it's really strong. I just think it's really good. You know, it's been very enjoyable. I love the way everything has been portrayed. All of these characters, all of these actors and stuff. I really enjoy it. I think they all have great chemistry. Like, their scenes feel really electric. I've just been really impressed by this series. Truly. Anyway, we kind of segued from my discussion about Ming into my discussion about the production overall. So let's circle back around to Ming, because I did have one more thing I wanted to say about him. You know, what I was getting at was that, you know, I feel like I respect that the show continued to make him an asshole, and that he is working towards a change, but he's not there yet. So all of his terrible behavior is still there. It's still part of him because it's part of his identity because he was raised as a rich, privileged asshole. Like, so that's all still there, you know? That part hasn't changed. He may have lost Joe, but he's still a rich, entitled asshole. So, you know, all that's still there. So he's approaching even his apologies in such a way that they are douchebaggy. And I kind of respect that. Like, I kind of love that his character is, like, weirdly struggling and stretching and trying to improve, but because of his very being, everything about himself, it's like he's coming across as a grade A asshole. As kind of the worst. And also a lot of it, I mean, if we're really thinking about Ming and his psyche, right? A lot of his behavior can kind of be explained as, well, insecurity, sure, you know, but also like feeling like a general lack of control, especially in his family. I think he has that. I think that the show has hinted at that, has not exactly delved into it too deeply. We haven't spent episodes and episodes like with his family or anything, but I'm saying that his behavior is very much because he has like a severe lack of control at home, I think. With his father that we have not met, the shadowy father figure that we've not seen, his older brother, his mother, like there's clear ideas that his family lineage is very constricting and has they all have ideas about who he should be, what he should do. Even the fact that Mike the brother is like super, you know, hovering over the idea of Ming having another boy toy. Like Tong himself also very controlling, very domineering with Ming. It's a very weird dynamic. It's even weirder with Tong because Tong is not even his blood relative or any kind of relative. Well, I mean, now he is because he married his sister. But, you know, before he was just a guy that he knew, that he had a crush on, that he met at a movie. Like, you know, like he was nothing. He was nothing to this family or to Ming. But because of Ming's crush, he allowed Tong to have control over him. And so he kind of, you know, and then of course he started dating his sister, and so Ming kind of extended, I think, his grace towards Tong through the sister because he loves his sister so much. But he also, like, they hinted also with, this is just going to be one long analysis of Ming, I guess. They hinted at earlier that even with his sister, he loves his sister clearly, but even with his sister, there's a weird, like, you know, controlling sense of obligation toward her, because they hinted at the idea that when he was younger, he almost died and his sister saved him. And so she was sick. She got pneumonia. And I think the implication is that the reason that she gets so sick so often now is because she had, like, it kind of took a bad turn when she was younger. And so I feel like he's also operating from a sense of guilt and responsibility and obligation towards his sister as well. Like, that's also the reason that he didn't actively try and pursue Tong, is because Tong was, because Mei loves Tong, and he knew that he had an obligation to her. So he, even though he was quote unquote, he thought he was in love with Tong and he wanted him, he wanted Tong to choose him, etc., etc. He never quite worked up the nerve to confess, and some of that was because of his feelings of obligation towards his sister. Like he said earlier, he said family must come first. You know, that was what he said to her, you know, early in an earlier episode. And so I think that's kind of part of it. And so, like, there's this weird thing at home with him where he doesn't feel in control of anything in any way, I think so. That's why he has to take control everywhere else. and with everyone else, you know, at least in his mind. And he gets nervous at the idea of not being in control, of not being able to buy something or to own something or to have something in his grasp, even if it's something small that he shouldn't care about. If he even briefly thinks that it should be his, it's his now, you know, and anybody else touches it, it's over. He's blowing up the world, you know? So like, I think that's where that's coming from. And I'm sure we'll get a little bit more into it as we get a little bit deeper, I think, into his family. I'm guessing that especially his brother and possibly his mother is going to be kind of a key player in us finding out more about his family life, especially as we get into the second half of their 1-year contract. So we did get confirmation in this episode that it has been roughly 6 months since the beginning of their contract, which was episode 6. Yeah. So, like that pacing is crazy. It was episode 6. We're on episode 9 right now, and in 3 episodes we've gone through 6 months. You know. Anyway, so we're entering into the back half of their contract. Kind of very reluctantly on Joe's part. So Joe, let's talk about Joe a little bit. Because I just spent like half an hour talking about Ming. So let's talk about Joe. Joe is so interesting because he's so, like, this whole conundrum of him being dead and not dead is so interesting. It's like he's a bystander in his own life, you know? And he also is dealing with a lot of lack of control, in large part because of Ming, but like, you know what I mean. But even before Ming, he didn't have control over his own life because that's his whole thing, right? He's the stand-in. He's always the stand-in. He's the stand-in for the stand-in now. And before he was the stand-in for Tong. He was never the main character, at least, you know, in this narrative, in the story. He's our main character, so I love Joe. Yeah, so, but he also is, but that is in itself, I think, is similar to Ming in that he doesn't have control over anything. And his lack of control also is compounded because also he's poor. He doesn't have any money. I don't want to say he's poor, but you know, he's poor. He's not rich. Let's say that. So he's struggling to make ends meet. He one bad windfall and everything is fucking over, as we saw when he died and then his new mom got sick and got beat up. Like, just again, one bad day and suddenly he's in the pits. Suddenly he's on the street, you know? So like that is also a form of not being in control of your own life, not being able to take control of your own finances is like vital. It's vital to independence, to autonomy. And so I feel like Joe also is feeling kind of very similar, but just in a completely different spectrum, right? Like, it's like the Ming and Joe being kind of parallels of each other, but very different ways to approach loneliness, as well as an examination of personal autonomy. And so I really like the way that they've paralleled Ming and Joe in the story in that way. And for Joe's side, you know, a lot of his behavior can be kind of traced back to that as well. Like, we learned in this episode that his relatives are pieces of shit too, and none of them ever cared about him. Like, to the point where he doesn't even consider them his family. Like, in the very beginning of the series, he didn't even mention his relatives. Apparently he has relatives out there, but they are so not his family that he didn't even think about them. You know, they're awful. You know that they're awful, you know? And then that's another parallel between him and Ming, is that they have like these kind of awful families, you know? But for Joe, that inability to have a connection with what he would consider to be a vital part of life, which is family for him as well. And not having a home, that whole refrain that we, come back to in this episode a couple of times actually. The idea of being able to come home and know that somebody is there waiting for you, wanting to love you, wanting to be in your life, wanting to take care of you, having the lights on, having food cooked, ready to, comfort you if you had a bad day. Like that kind of feeling of acceptance and community is something that Joe has sorely lacked. And like I said earlier in a previous episode, maybe the last episode, Joe had, prior to this, he had community in Wood and in Soul, but there was distance there. And there could be a number of reasons for that. I mean, Wood is also his boss, Soul is also his co-worker, his crush who rejected him. So their support comes with baggage, And so family should be the kind of support that doesn't come with baggage. And he never had that before. He only got that after he died and became the new Joe, right? But he can't relish in that. He can't be happy about that 100% because one, somebody had to die and he had to take somebody's place in order to feel family again, ever, since his parents died. Somebody had to die and he had to take somebody else's place, take somebody else's life for him to find family and community again. And for him to let himself build a community. And so even that is kind of tinged with like a weird guilt and a weird obligation that Joe feels. Like we had in the previous episode when he was in front of the grave of his parents and he was talking about how, he's going to soon return to them, his blood relatives, but he has an obligation to New Joe's mother to take care of her. He has people he needs to take care of. That's how he worded it. And so that is also kind of a sense of like, you're not choosing it. It's something that happened to you. This is something that happened to Joe, like he's a passenger in his own life, So I like the way that we're exploring their different senses of, different kinds of loneliness, different kinds of lack of autonomy, of struggling to find their self, find their center, find connection with other people. Like, I really like it. I think that's everything I want to say. I have been talking for a while. I do not want this video to be 2 hours. So we're going to end it here. What do we think we're going into in the next episode? I'm assuming we're going to get, Joe reluctantly still in his contract. Oh, no, let's talk a little bit about that. Okay. Let's talk about the company CEO. I don't know who this guy is, whatever. Low-key throwing Joe to the casting couch or some shit. Like, what was he? What? Yeah. Nasty. And you know that he's done that with other actors. You know he's done that with other performers. Oh, man. And so, like, the only reason that it didn't go, it's Ming, so it's gonna go left either way. But, like, I was about to say, it's because Ming is the one who's asking this. But, like, it could have easily been some random jabroni, some random billionaire douchebag, in that car. Like, and I feel like the guy would have still done the same thing. Because Ming is using that kind of power and influence to do this, by the way. Like, Ming is the creepy billionaire who's using his money to buy a young talent who's frankly penniless without the company. That's what's happening right now. And it's only because they knew each other prior to this that it's less skeevy. It's still a bit skeevy, but it's less skeevy because they at least had a relationship prior to this. So he's mostly just doing it so that he can stay in Joe's life. But if this was any other series, this would be fucking terrible. I mean, it's still kind of terrible, but you know what I mean. Like, yeah. So that was a wild scene. Anyway, like I said, I don't want to keep, you know, going around in circles on this. So I'll go ahead and end it there. Let me know what you guys think. How are you liking this show? Are you feeling the same way as me? Are you feeling like this really strong identity? Like, obviously, we still have episodes to go. We still have, I think this show is 12, a standard 12, right? So we might have 3 more episodes. I think we have 3 more episodes to go. Are you guys feeling like this kind of strong identity like I am? And I feel like we're kind of winding down a little bit, but I'm assuming that we're going to finish out the next 6 months of their contract with the final 3 episodes. But yeah, it's been quite the ride. I've been really enjoying this series. Let me know what you think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Go on over to Patreon if you're interested in full length. This review is going to be very long because I talked for a while. I might split it up into its own separate part. I don't know. We'll see. But you know, feel free to go over to Patreon if you want the full length. I'm uploading this late, so I can't put this on YouTube except in cut down highlight reactions, and I have to, like, you know, cover the screen and everything. So if you want it, you know, full length and everything, go over to Patreon. You can check it out there. The only thing I have to say is that I'm looking forward to the next episode. I think that's it. All right. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Whatever, all this ever, but you long gone, it don't matter.